Good afternoon. Good afternoon. If you're in the Central Time Zone, Central Standard Time Zone, if you're in the United States of America, wherever you are, if it's afternoon, hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good midday, whatever time it is for you. Hello, I am so happy that you are here with me. You are wonderful. I am so happy that you're here with me. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Cross the bridge when you get to it. What does that mean? Cross the bridge when you get to it. And we've heard it to it. So I'm going to read some of the explanations of what it means. And of course, I like to go to bing.com to get what it wants to say about crossing the bridge when you get to it. The phrase cross the bridge when we get there means to deal with the problem or situation only when it arises rather than worrying about it in advance. It suggests that one should not stress over potential issues that may never occur and instead focus on the present. For example, if someone is concerned about a future problem, another might say, let's just cross that when we get there.
I'm not
And
quite sure what you're asking about. Could you
Alexa
help
is
me
butting
understand what
in.
you
She's
mean?
listening to me. That's okay, Alexa. Thank you. So,
You're welcome, Shirley.
for
I'm
example,
always here when you need me.
if someone is concerned about a future problem, another might say, let's just cross that bridge when we get there, indicating that they will address the issue if and when it becomes necessary. And there are pros and cons to crossing the bridge when we get to it. Crossing the bridge when we get to it. So I always like to go to Psychology Today, and there are here that talk about it. There's suggested videos here on different streaming services that you can get information on that subject from. The Cambridge Dictionary, and it has different versions of how we say it. I'll or will cross that bridge when we come, when we come or get to it. So the dictionary tells us the origin, it wants to tell us the origin of it, where it came. So let's see what it has to say and add. An expression that means you will not worry about a possible future problem. There's some changes here. Let me get that off of here. An expression that means you will not worry about a possible future problem, but will deal with it when it happens. And that is sometimes the best way to deal with it, and sometimes it might not be. So, planning, expecting, and arranging accidentally, on purpose, and different words that go with that, they can be used with that. But if something is happening or you think something is going to happen, that doesn't mean that it's really going to happen, because a statistic or that I did a show many months, been some, maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe, that talks about people worrying about things. And it says that there's a survey that says that 85% of the things that we worry about don't happen. 85% of the things that we worry about don't happen. And that is so true. So while we're worrying about something, that thing never happens. So all that time we've stressed over something that we shouldn't have, and we wasted all that time. But then there could be a different side that also things that we should be concerned about, we can prevent if we go about it way in many cases, in many situations. So it works both ways for us. So it means, when you get there to that problem, then deal with it. And that's a good way to help us out to deal with that problem. But then, what if it needs attention right away? And we fail to give the attention to the problem that we needed to, or that we need to, before it becomes really, really present. And sometimes it's too late to even try to do something about it. So we're, what do they call it? A situation where you condemned if you do, and you condemned if you don't. But then I remember what Ecclesiastes says: vanity, vanity, all is vanity. Some things you can't do anything about, especially one thing you cannot do anything about. So I like this subject. Let's cross that bridge when we get to it. And if we need to deal with the situation before we get there, then let's do that too, okay? So how do you know? How do you know one thing that has been instilled in us through our Creator, who is God? He has given us senses. He has given us discernment. He has put instincts in us that uh, give us a sense to take fight or take flight. That means stand and deal with it, or if you can't deal with it, hey, move on, move on, move on to wherever you need to be safe in whatever situation it is, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical. And we are such wonderfully made creatures. It's just amazing how resilient, how brilliant we are. God did not make a mistake. He made us. And He gave us all of the equipment that we need in order to live this life and in order to live it successfully and enjoy it. I love that. I love that. Yes, we come across problems so many times, but we know how to deal with them. We know how to deal with them because it's built in. It's built in. Cross the bridge. We need to it. Cross that bridge. My goodness. So we're going into a deep dive of it. Deep dive. And let's see one of these. See if we get okay. Oh my goodness. Cross that bridge when you get to it. To worry about a possible problem, don't worry about it until it actually happens. Don't worry about it until it actually happens. And then, if we miss a signal when we're supposed to deal with it, then that can be a problem too. Oh my goodness, that could be a problem too. So I hope your day is going very, very well. Mine is, I've been sitting here nodding and just thanking God and enjoying my life on this cold, cold day. But I think we're in the 30s now here in Dallas. I think we're in the 30s. I know we're supposed to get up to maybe 40 today, but whatever, I am so thankful for food, clothing, shelter. What about you? What about you? Oh my goodness. At least my internet is doing well. So I'm going to psychology today. To cross that bridge when you get to it. Oh, here are some alternative meanings of it that I would like to present to you from being and different ways of looking at it. Waiting on the bridge is another thing. It may refer to bring on a conference call or virtual meeting, indicating that the person is all is ready to participate. Alternatively, it can mean waiting for someone or something to happen as it on a response or waiting on a decision. And in both contexts, it conveys a sense of anticipation or waiting for a specific thing to happen. Crossing that bridge. Oh my goodness. It can take you to so many places. So many places. Oh, here we go. Waiting on that bridge. There's so many things that can happen in life, expected things, and we can hear something on the news. We can think about something, anything, things come to our minds, and it can cause us to worry about things that we shouldn't, but we know that we shouldn't worry about it. How do we know we should not worry about it? How do we know? I'm going to my favorite site. We know. Crossing that bridge when we get to it. I did something here on this computer that I'm going to have to straighten out. I changed the position of my um, tabs, and so sometimes it doesn't give me the room that I want it to give me when I hear, oh, this is so wonderful that we're able to just be able to find all of the information, many times so much information on certain things. It's just wonderful to me. It's wonderful to me. And I'm just going to take my time today. I usually can get whatever I need from Psychology Today. Oh, yes, they always have some great, great help. The phrase, cross that bridge when you get to it, suggests, and they all work together with each other, all of the definitions, suggests that one should not worry about potential problems until they actually occur. It emphasizes focusing on the present and addressing issues as they rise rather than worrying about future difficulties. So I'm in Bing again. And I love to do this research because if you uh, worry about things before they actually happen, that can alter your life where it might not ever get back in the order that it should be in because of sick decisions that we make. Premature decisions, that's what it is. Premature decisions. So that's what it's telling us about when it said, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. Don't make the hasty decisions that many of us have made for fear of something terrible happens. And sometimes when those things, we act prematurely, we cause things to happen that maybe should not have happened or would not have happened. So sometimes we just don't know. And that's why we take these precautions and we go ahead of ourselves trying to keep something negative from happening. And it happens anyway, and sometimes faster than it would have happened if it was going to happen. My goodness. Cross that bridge when you get to it. Sometimes we have to wait. Wait and see. And then there's that phrase shoulda, coulda, woulda. But did we know if we could have, should have, would have? And then if we do, we have another shoulda, coulda, woulda. I've waited. There's a dilemma, seems like in every situation. But that's life. That's life. That's what the people say. Some people get a big kick from stepping and walking on your dreams. But don't let it get you down. I like that part, so you'll be top. Yeah, in June. That's life. Dealing with the problems. Day to day problems. Don't know whether to move or stay still. But we do have choices in life. We do have choices in life. So, when something is bothering you and you're fretting about something that might happen and you're not sure that it will happen, that is a dilemma. But then ask. I always say pray and ask for help. So you won't cross that bridge too soon, or you won't act before you get to that bridge. That's where the problem lies. Getting to that bridge. I guess she said she's talking mighty slow today. I guess I'm just taking it easy, just like this weather helps us take it easy. Cross that bridge when you get to it. All right. Let's see. I don't like this space wasting time, wasting space. Sometimes that's what it seems like. You're wasting time, energy, and space. The thing about I'm talking about psychology today. The thing about it is that anything you need, just about, you can find that help in psychology today. There's another site that I like, BetterHelp. BetterHelp, like that. And there's a personality test about crossing the bridge. And here's one thing, but I don't do the video here. Cross that bridge when we get to it. Don't be too hasty. Don't let people cause you to move too quickly. Just hold. Sometimes we have to, like people say, hold your horses. Just stand still and see what the outcome is going to be. Cross that bridge when you get to it. It's so important not to move too quickly. We can mess up everything if we move too quickly. And sometimes if we don't move quick enough, we'll still mess something up. So sometimes they say, if I do, I messed up. If I don't, I messed up too. My goodness. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, you can't cross. And then, like, hey, there's a thought just came up. You can't cross the bridge until you get to it. You can't cross the bridge until you get to it. You have to get to the bridge in order to cross it. My goodness. And there's a phrase here said, don't cross the bridge until you get to it. and it's possible to cross it if you're not there at the bridge anyway. Goodness. So while I'm here, I would like to remind you of my music, SoundCloud, YouTube Music, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and different. It's on there also. Different places where you can find my music. You can find my 4-part series on Ain't No Love, which came to me and I produced that. So there are many things out here that I would like for you while you're on your computer, on your phone. Sometimes just go there and you should be able to find some work of mine. Oh, yes, you should be able to. It gives me joy to be able to help with people's lives, my life, your life. And there are many articles that can help us through life when you come across uh, glitches, things happen. Yes, things do happen. Things do happen. Okay, I want to see what this Fox Psychology had to say about crossing the bridge. And I don't think I've been here, this Fox Psychology. But like I said, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. I don't have my monitor screen on here. I took it off of that talk back. Took it off of the talk back. So usually sometimes you can hear my phone talking, but I have taken it off of that. And then I listen when there's just so much in life. So much in life. And if we're not careful, we'll be overwhelmed with what's happening in our lives. And that's why I'm here to try to share and guide us through life, being happy and content in spite of all of the difficulties and then all of the bridges that we cross, things that we have to deal with. Yes, things that we have to deal with. So let me see if I can get this to to download so I can share it with you. Let's cross that bridge when we get to it. Fox Psychology. And this is David Fox. And he starts off with under to his psychology 101 class. Looked around at the theater like room with so chairs leading upwards to the ceiling. And as he reflected for the umpteenth time how much the room looked much more like a movie theater than a classroom. This is Fox Psychology. David Fox Psychology.com. He walked on a few up a few flights of stairs to the middle row and excused himself as he passed a few of the other students and finally sat down next to Rachel. Hey, how was the weekend? Asked Rachel. Not bad. How was yours? Asked Reese, trying to act as nonchalant as he could in front of the woman he had had a crush on for the past 6 months. He tried to remain calm and slow his breathing a little. He was so attracted to this woman and was so scared of letting her know how he felt in case she rejected him outright, and his mind would race picturing how awful that would be, how utterly mortified he would feel if she didn't feel the same way, and how he may lose her as a friend in the process. He hoped she couldn't see any signs of his anxiety and kept facing forward. Mine was good, thanks. Spent some time with the family and went with Eva to see Love Actually 3. Wasn't as good as the first two. Yeah, sometimes they need to leave a good thing alone. Hey, smiled Reese. Rachel laughed out loud and jabbed him in the ribs playfully. Ouch, crazy woman. Reese pretended to be shocked, his mind racing with images and ideas. Did she like him more than a friend? Did she poke and did the poke and the physical contact mean that she may be keen for something more? How on earth would he find the courage or the right time and place to make it obvious to her that he would like to date her and not just meet up in class and spend time cramming for exams together in the library? His thoughts trailed off as their lecturer walked into the room. Professor Fisher walked into the room with the usual hustle of a man who had too many things to do and not enough time to do them in. He was a middle aged man in his mid to late 40s with a full beard that was beginning to show some gray. He was about 5 feet 8, with light brown hair, and wore rimless glasses. The class would always be intrigued by what he might turn up wearing that day. He appeared to have an endless supply of checkered shirts and sleeveless pullovers that he would invariably wear to his lessons. The university students loved Professor Fisher's lectures. He had a way of bringing the history of psychology to life. When he spoke about Freud and Jung, it was as if he had known them personally, and his own person centered approach to dealing with people shone through in how he described the process of therapy. Many of the students would go to him for advice either right after the lecture or they would make an appointment to see him, and he always made time for them, no matter how busy he appeared to be. And we are talking about crossing that bridge when we get to it. Crossing that bridge when we get to it. Oh, yes, thank you for being here. I appreciate your being here. You are awesome. You are wonderful, and I know that I am. Yes, I'm still alive. Okay, Reese had also gone to see Professor Fisher on a few occasions when he had been struggling with some of the coursework or a particularly difficult essay. So, in his first few weeks in Psych 101, Reese had felt quite overwhelmed and had given serious consideration to dropping out of university and becoming a beach bum. He could see himself living the life of Bodhi with from Point Break, played by Patrick Swayze, surfing all day and robbing banks behind the mask of the U.S. president for cash and living expenses. Reese's imagination would sometimes get the better of him. Morning, class. I hope you all had a good weekend and you are ready for another wonderful week in the land of intellectualism, and all things psychological, said Professor Fisher with a wide smile as he scanned the lecture hall to see who had decided to attend the early morning class. Many of his students would often skip the first lesson on a Monday morning for various reasons he could only too easily imagine. They would often ask their fellow classmates to either record the lesson on their smartphone or to take notes for them and make copies. Reese had never had anyone ask for his notes once they had seen his handwriting. Everyone told him he should be studying to become a doctor. So, as we are nearing the end of a term as well as the end of your first year of psychology, he said, I thought it would be a good idea to let you know about some of your options for next year. So, as you know, you will need a pass mark of at least 70% average in your Psych 101 class in order to take psychology again next year. So, there are actually quite a few electives next year within psychology, and those who are seriously considering making a career out of this will need to do most of these electives as well as their other major for their degree. So, as part of the requirement to become a psychologist and complete your undergraduate in psychology, you will all be required to complete Psych 202, Research Design and Analysis, which includes Psych 202A, which is statistics. He said the professor continued, but at this stage, Reese's face had gone white. Reese stared at his professor in an uncomprehending way for a minute before whispering to Rachel, What? Statistics? Rachel turned to look at Reese and noticed that he looked a distinct shade of pale as she confirmed, Yes. Didn't you know that it was required? She looked at him with concern, wondering why he was looking like he had just been told he had 3 months to live. I'm messed up, that's it. It's all over for me, said Reese, staring once more at his professor, who had gone on to tell the students that they may also want to look at taking electives such as organizational psychology if they were interested in taking the path towards working as a psychologist in business. Reese didn't even hear that part. He was so preoccupied with the thought that his dream, his vision of becoming a psychologist, had just been blown out in one fell swoop. His mind raced with thoughts about how he had just wasted a year of his life, loving a subject and thinking of a career in psychology to only be thwarted by a subject that he didn't and couldn't, for the life of him, see how it related to sitting down and counseling people through emotional difficulties. Yet, here it was as a prerequisite to becoming a psychologist. What are you talking about, Reese? You will be fine. Everyone has to do it. I have heard that it's hard going, but you'll be fine, reassured Rachel. She rubbed his arm a little. You don't understand. I almost failed maths in school. I hated it so much. When I wrote my last maths exam, I was so overjoyed. I still have nightmares about having to write my final maths exam where I haven't studied all year and completely forgot that I was going to have to write a final exam. I'm just no good at it. I'm right brained. For God's sake, Rachel, aren't most people who study the arts? If we were left brained people, we would be studying accounting, not psychology, said Reese, becoming clearly more agitated by the minute. We're talking about crossing that bridge when you get to it. Sometimes we jump the gun. Sometimes we jump the gun. But we're talking about crossing that bridge when we get to it. Crossing the bridge when we get to it. Oh my goodness, thank you for being here with me. I surely appreciate it. Good afternoon, Lady Patsy. Thank you so much for being here with me. Calm down. Maybe you shouldn't just go and you should just go and talk to Professor Fisher about it. I'm sure he will give you a better idea of what's involved. And so many times we can hear something or we can hear somebody else say something, and some people say, "Ooh, that was so good. I enjoyed that so much." And people said it was hard, but it wasn't as hard as I thought. Then we could hear some people say, "Oh, some people said it was going to be mm, easy, not so easy." But it wasn't as easy as I thought. So there's so many things that go into your mind. And just like he's saying, during those maths finals, he said he had problems. So he's taking in the past and he's fretting over that's already done, and that seems to be going to hinder him in what he's going into. So she said, calm down. Maybe you should just go and talk to Professor Fisher about it. She said, I'm sure he will give you a better idea of what's involved. And he said, yeah, I think I will have to pay him a visit. I will chat to him after class to see when he is free. For the rest of the lecture, which was about Freud's views on dreams and dream interpretation, Reese was there in body only. He tried to bring his concentration back at times and make some notes, but he eventually gave up and just hit record on his mobile phone. His mind was once again preoccupied with all the possible paths that now lay before him, including changing subjects, looking for another career path, leaving university and getting a job somewhere, or taking a year off and heading to South America to reevaluate his life. He felt like a huge weight had been put on his chest, and feelings of hopelessness and despondency fluttered through him as they had often done at many other times. And life, and we've heard that phrase, life can get you down, life can weigh you down. We've heard that. We've heard that it can get the best of so many people. Some people just give up on their dreams and aspirations. You know why? Because they're worrying about crossing the bridge when they haven't even made it close to the bridge. So Professor Fisher finished his lecture with a homework assignment for the class to keep a dream journal for 1 week, explaining how the students could best prepare their minds and their consciences, their subconscious minds, to remember their dreams each morning by keeping a pen and paper next to their beds and keeping very still just as they became aware of becoming awake. They would then need to mentally rehearse as many details of their dream as they could before moving, and then go directly to their pen and paper and just write whatever details of the dream they could remember without overthinking it. And I've done that before. I have made notes of my dreams, and I still have some mental notes of certain dreams that I've had. How about you? So, anyway, that's just a point there that I wanted to make since we were here. He then wanted them to try and reinterpret what their dreams were indicating to them about what was going on in their lives and write a short 5-page essay on their dream interpretation. So he wanted them to try to interpret the dream. So then, as the last of the students left the lecture hall, Reese waited behind two other students who had some questions for the professor. When they moved on, the professor smiled when he saw Reese, and then, noticing the look of consternation on Reese's face, immediately asked him what was wrong. Can I come speak to you in your office either today or tomorrow, please, Professor? I am really concerned about this statistics course we have to pass next year. Now, they haven't come to the course. You get that? He's told them the course that they have to take in the near future, but they haven't come to that course yet. So he said, I'm really concerned, and I understand that, and I know you too understand, you know, understand it. Because when somebody tells us, sometimes they say, well, next year we're going to do this, and sometimes people fret over it when it hasn't even started, the time hasn't started to work on whatever needs to be worked on, or whatever goal is that you have set for the next year. You are concerned about that, and many times negative thoughts come into your mind and all of that. But he said, I am really concerned about this statistics course we have to pass next year. He said, I'm really worried this could be the end of me becoming a psychologist, said Reese with a look of dismay clearly showing. I know this probably doesn't help to say right now, but you will be fine, Reese. And remember, the young lady told him he will be fine. He will do all right. But yes, come and see me first thing tomorrow morning. I have some time at 8:30 before my tutorial class. Great. Thanks, Professor. Appreciate it, said Reese as he hitched his backpack over his shoulder again and headed out the lecture hall. We're talking about crossing the bridge when you get to it, okay? That night, Reese struggled to fall asleep. Have you ever had those times when you've struggled to fall asleep? Something is weighing heavy on your mind, something's troubling you. Oh, yes. I think we've all had those times, and many of those times. So he lay in bed, going over in his mind all the possibilities for his future, none of which seems to be appealing outside of him pursuing his dream of becoming a psychologist. He just could not imagine what else he would do with his life at this point. It took him long enough to figure out that psychology was the road that he wanted to go down, and then committing himself to at least 5 years of ongoing study. His mind also wandered to Rachel, thinking about how much he liked her and also rerunning how he had reacted to hearing about the statistics course. He was quite sure that she must think he is a total idiot now, and there was no way she would go out with someone who was so terrified of completing a course in statistics. Rachel was very bright, and he knew that she would ace the course with no problem. His thoughts rumbled around, trying to convince him he was no good for her, but he fought back, trying to use some of what he had learned through his own self study about negative thoughts. He reminded himself that being highly intelligent from an IQ point of view wasn't everything, and that emotional intelligence counted just as much, if not more. After a long time of tossing and turning, he finally fell asleep, entangled in the bed sheets. Have you ever been tangled up in your sheets? Oh, yes. And sometimes, if we're not careful, our foot will be in the sheet and we get out of the bed and we might stumble and fall. Has that ever happened to you? Okay, let me get back. Like the preacher, evangelist, when he used to come to our Texas Northeast, I can't think of his name now. He would be a speaker at our what is it, state convocation, and he would say, "Come on back, come on back." So, after a long time of tossing and turning, he finally fell asleep entangled in his bed sheets. The next morning, Reese was waiting on a chair outside Professor Fisher's office, looking at his phone, flipping through Facebook's status updates. He heard steps coming up the footwell at the end of the corridor and looked up to see Professor Fisher step into the corridor with his leather briefcase in his left hand and a coffee that he usually got from the canteen in his right. He saw Reese and smiled. When he got to his office door, he put his briefcase down and asked Reese if he wouldn't mind holding his coffee while he found his keys. Professor Fisher opened the office door and Reese followed him in. Professor Fisher asked him to take a seat on the couch as he put his briefcase down and then came to sit across from Reese on his high back chair that he often used for counseling students. Reese put his backpack down and sank into the couch, looking fatigued and quite despondent. Professor Fisher studied Reese's demeanor and then said, "Okay, young man, out with it. What's troubling you about the statistics course?" "Professor, I all but failed maths in high school. I hated it with a passion. I still have nightmares about it. I'm just not intelligent enough, and I don't want to put myself through having to study something that I am just ultimately going to fail." Now, we're talking about crossing the bridge. Don't cross the bridge until you get to it, okay? He said, "I've been seriously thinking of needing to change courses or something," said Reese. Professor Fisher studied the young man for a minute and then said, Reese, you will just have to cross that bridge when you get to it. He's already fretting about something in the coming year because you have to finish 101 before you get to 202. You see? But he's so concerned about it from past experiences. And then it would, I don't know whether it would be abnormal for us not to think about the past and experiences that we had in order to go into the future. Okay? So he said, Reese, you will just have to cross that bridge when you get to it. He said, but I really think I'm going to fail, Professor. So what is the point? Reese, have you ever thought about what that saying really means in life and how you can apply it? Did you know that it directly relates to a psychological distortion of thinking in CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy, called fortune telling? Reese thought about this for a moment, remembering reading a book by Dr. David Burns that had discussed his distortion of thinking that causes anxiety and sometimes depression. He remembered thinking that the book was very good, but he had never really tried to apply the practices in it. Yes, I think I remember it. It's when we try to predict something in the future and we often worry about things that haven't happened and are not likely to happen. Is that what you mean? He said. And remember the statistics that I said that we worry about things. And the study says that uh, 85% of those things that we worry about never happen. So, yes, that's right. The saying, we will cross that bridge when we get to it, is age old advice that has been handed down through the ages and has survived as a saying for a reason, as have many other sayings that we have heard so many times before but never really stopped to contemplate why they are still around and how to apply them effectively in our lives. He said, tell me something, Reese. Can you remember something in your past that you were worried about happening that eventually got resolved? Something where you were worried that things would not turn out, but they somehow did? Asked Professor Fisher, with a little bit of a smile showing in his eyes and lips. Reese had to smile a little in response and thought back to a few events and occasions in his life where he had worried unnecessarily about
This is a
things that had
reminder.
eventually
In
worked
today's webcast,
themselves out. I have a little bit more to go, so
this is
please
a
bear with
reminder.
me. Thank
In
you.
today's webcast,
Thank you. He remembered being worried about how he was going to pay for repairs to his car and imagining what would happen if he could not manage to pay for it. His parents didn't have much money, and he had been working as a waiter to have some money to cover costs of his car and doing taekwondo, which he had only started the year before. But the repairs had ended up not costing as much as he had feared they would, and he managed to arrange paying off the bill over 3 months with the mechanic. He remembered being awake for a few nights worrying about it and losing sleep over it. Yes, that has happened a few times, Professor, but this is different. This is huge. If I fail this course, I cannot become a psychologist, which is one of my biggest dreams in life. That would be awful. Well, now, Reese, what you just said here is actually one of the other distortions of thinking. It's called catastrophizing, blowing things out of proportion. It may not be the way you saw things happening in your life, but I firmly believe that where there is a will, there is a way. We're familiar with that, aren't we? You may not take the traditional route, but you will get there if you have enough desire and passion to keep going for what you want. And that's assuming that you can't pass the course, the course. Reese, you're an intelligent young man. If you need to go for extra lessons or support, I'm sure we can arrange that. That's if you actually need the support. Statistics is quite different to mathematics. It is very much applied, and if you concentrate in lectures and study hard, I cannot see why you won't get the 75% average that you need. And by the way, the minimum requirements is to complete Statistics 201 in the first half of next year, but there is also highly recommended Statistics 202 in the second half of the year. Reese looked a shade paler. You can't be serious, Professor. This is a nightmare. Reese, do you know what worry is? Yes, it's something I'm very skilled at, exclaimed Reese, trying hard to maintain his look of dismay, but cracking a smile anyway. He felt his state change a little as he was able to laugh at himself a bit. And we've done that, haven't we? We've been in such a state. We've been so sad or maybe so angry or in some other mood, and then someone says something or a thought comes to our mind, and we try our best to keep straight facing, keep looking sad and despondent, but we can't help it. We just have to crack a smile, and sometimes we chuckle and laugh out loud. That's a part of life, and that's a good part of life. Professor Fisher chuckled and said, well, that may be true, Reese, and certainly something you should be working on, but I have always loved the description of worry as paying the interest on a debt that you probably don't owe. My goodness. And so there's a song that I like, uh, Wildflower. Wildflower. And if you want to look that up, you might already know it. Those listening to me, Wildflower. There's a song I like to pay in a debt that she doesn't owe. Reese reflected on this for a bit, realizing how true that had been in his life, how much energy and time he had spent worrying about things that never eventuated or certainly didn't turn out as bad as he feared. In fact, he could remember quite a few times when things worked out in ways he could never have imagined. How certain people or events had arrived in his life at just the right time to help him along his path. I like that description, said Reese. Yes, it's quite good, isn't it? Like I said, Reese, if you were walking along a pathway and someone told you that there was a bridge up ahead on your path that was difficult to cross and a little bit dangerous due to how old it was, you could do one of a number of things. You could stop in your tracks. Imagine that the bridge and what it Imagine that bridge and what it would be like to fall to your death in the ravine far below, and you wouldn't take another step forward. You would give up on your goal of getting over that bridge and getting to where you were traveling to in the first place. You might try and immediately think of all other possible routes to get to your destination without having to cross the bridge, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing, as that is just problem solving. But the issue is that you haven't even seen the bridge yet. Other people can make things sound so difficult. And we take people's words, and sometimes it's good to now. And then most of the time, we have to weigh the situation and we have to see for ourselves sometimes. And so we go back to what I'm saying, that we have instincts and we have that inner protection mode that God has given us. Like this, like what is it, Lost in Space? Danger, 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 Will Robinson, danger. So we have all of that built in, and we can discern when things are not good. But sometimes people can put thoughts in our heads that cause us to slow down or stop when we haven't even checked the situation out and seen what's going on for ourselves. So it's purely in your imagination, as is the image of you falling to your untimely demise. None of it is real. That is why we call it fortune telling. You know, it is very much a human thing to do. We are geared to looking for danger, and that comes from our very primitive beginnings and needing to be wary of our environment. It served a real purpose, didn't I just say that? In keeping us alive in the days where we may have ended up some wild animal's dinner if we didn't keep our wits about us. But in today's world, most of what we fear are our own mental creations and imaginings of some terrible misfortune happening to us. Sometimes these imaginings are based on real events that have happened to us, such as your previous experience with maths, making you feel as if you will not be able to handle statistics. The same as someone who has lost their job in the past becoming quite fearful and worried about losing their job again if their organization announces a restructure or the economy takes a turn for the worst. But in most cases, it is a fear of what may happen and not what has actually happened that causes so much angst for people. And we really all need to learn that trying to cross the bridge before we actually get to it serves no other purpose other than to make us afraid and prevent us from continuing down our path with the faith and belief that we will handle it when we get there. We have handled many other things in the past, so why wouldn't we be able to handle this too? Ooh, isn't this good? My goodness, this is good. Thank you, God. Professor Fisher sat back in his chair, taking a sip of his now lukewarm coffee, thinking he would warm it up in his little microwave he had bought for just such occasions. He monitored the look on Reese's face, searching to see how his words had impacted the young man, hoping that they had actually made an impact. Reese certainly appeared more relaxed and more contemplated than when he had first seen him waiting outside the office. I hear what you're saying, Professor. Makes sense, I guess, not to worry about things that haven't happened yet. I guess I should try to live one day at a time and not try to tackle my whole life at once, Reese remarked. Now you're getting it, lad. And keep this in mind too. I am not saying that you should not think ahead and try to plan your life, set goals, or reflect on the consequences of your actions. I am just trying to get you to see that there is a difference between thinking ahead in order to plan and worrying needlessly about things that may or may not happen. Reese felt a lot calmer and much more confident about continuing with his goal to become a psychologist. While he still had some concern about how he would cope with the statistics course, he realized that he had been overreaching and catastrophizing, thinking the worst, and that this was not helpful. One more question flashes into his mind. He wasn't sure whether it was appropriate to raise with the professor, but he felt comfortable enough, and he had never had a father figure to talk to about such things. Professor, can I ask you something unrelated to my studies? Of course you can, although I only have a few more minutes. There is this girl in the Psych 101 class. You mean Rachel, of course, said Professor Fisher, with a mischievous and knowing glint in his eye. Reese looked very surprised and smiled. You? How do you know? I observe people for a living, my boy. Just because there is a class of 100 people doesn't mean I don't notice what's going on in it. You like her, but you don't know if she feels the same way you do. Yes, I'm really worried. She just sees me as a friend, and I worry that she will reject me or that I will lose her friendship. I also think that she's maybe out of my league and thinks I am a bit of a dork, said Reese. Well, Reese, here is yet another example of thinking that can get you wrong, that can be wrong. What you're doing is something called mind reading as well as fortune telling. You are trying to imagine what she thinks of you rather than testing reality by asking her, and then you are imagining what she may do if you told her how you feel, which is, of course, fortune telling. You know, you always have a choice about which way you imagine or predict things may go. You may be right on either count. She may respond negatively or she may respond positively. You may as well picture a positive outcome. Why scare yourself with all the negative possibilities? Just ask her out on a date. But what if she says no? Asked Reese. I'll give you one last gem I learned many years ago. Playing the little game of what if with yourself in life rarely leads to a good time, and it certainly doesn't achieve much. Sometimes a better question to ask yourself is so what if? So, what if she says no? Will your world come crashing down? Will you never find another woman you are attracted to? Will you never get married and have children? You get my drift? Said the professor as he stood up smiling broadly at Reese. He remembered well his own fears and insecurities about dating in his early 20s. I think I like that one too, Professor, said Reese as he stood up and slung his backpack over his shoulder. Thanks, Professor. You really helped me. Don't know what I would do without you. Well, you would either be fine or you would not. Which one do you choose to think? Said the professor. Reese laughed and left the office with a noticeable spring in his step as he walked down the psychology unit hall and headed for the canteen where he knew Rachel would be having her first coffee of the day. 1 year later, not only had Reese passed the statistics course with 75% for the first course and 76% for the second, he was asked by the psychology department to tutor first year students for one afternoon a week. Reese would often smile when he remembered his conversation with Professor Fisher and committed to doing everything he could to not cross any bridge until he got to it. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, that is so good. I am coming to a close. So, David Fox is a psychologist and an author of Change Your Life, Hope and Healing for Anxiety and Depression. So, don't try to cross the bridge before you get to it. Take a big old space for thinking it out, and don't think too seriously, because remember those statistics that I presented it has been years, maybe a year ago in one of my webcasts. Only 15% of the things that we worry about happen. We worry about things, only 85% of those things don't happen. But we worry ourselves. Some people worry themselves to the point of death over things that have not happened, that are not even close to happening. But the mind does play, like I said, play tricks on us. The enemy of humanity is real. We do have an enemy out here in the atmosphere that does not want us to succeed, because we are God's people. God made us just like He made that enemy, but that enemy gave up his place in God's world, in the kingdom. And now the enemy is doing all he can to get us frustrated and make us give up on life. But remember, don't let it get you depressed. Don't give up your hopes and dreams, your aspirations, because you haven't gotten to the bridge. You don't know what condition that bridge is in. It might have two or three planks that are very solid that you can cross over on. I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here with me. Oh, this is such a wonderful subject today. Cross the bridge, when to it. I love you so much. Enjoy the remainder of your day, night, evening, afternoon, midday, whichever it is. And please, on Thursday, God willing, p.m., please join me again. And I apologize to you if I have encroached your time. But this is very important to many people. And please share this webcast. I love you so much. Thank you for with me.